Seeing none, we will reserve your right. Oh, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Representative Bryant.
Thank you. Ms. Noble, the Ten Commandments are a religious document, isn't that correct?
Yes, they are.
Actually, not a document. Somebody pulled them out of 3 or 4 different places in the Old Testament, isn't that correct?
Are you talking about the ones that we have on the monument out here?
I'm talking about the one in your bill.
Yes, that the one in my bill is the one from the monument we have out here. They're not exact quotes from Deuteronomy, nor are they exact quotes from my brain is now dead, Exodus, of course, Exodus 20. But they are what we have traditionally used here in Texas. And you know, there was a good debate on whether we use a more modern translation, and I looked it up. And did you know that the Bible has been translated into English about 900 times? So the fact that this wording has been approved by the Supreme Court in a court case is why we're going with those words, that rendition.
Well, I won't take time to dispute that, but let me ask, these words came out of the principal Jewish and Christian scriptures, would you agree?
I would agree with that.
The Jewish scriptures which have been embraced by Christianity, correct?
I would agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So is your objective to pass along that religious tradition to children who are in the classroom and see the Ten Commandments on the wall?
My objective is for children, our school children, to understand why God is mentioned in the first 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence, in the last 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence, and other founding father documents, why it's infused in our laws, that the principles of having an authority that is God, that we keep our word, because not just because we're having a relationship with others, but because God is watching. I think that those are fair principles to consider even today. But without that foundation, how do they understand those early documents of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and those early and court cases, by the way?
Well,
Because otherwise, why not kill somebody? Why not take their belongings?
because God is watching, right?
Well, that's what I consider to be
Well,
true, and that is certainly our foundation. Our forefathers did,
Thank
and
you.
that's where that's coming from.
So our objective is a religious objective.
Our objective is an educational and judicial objective
well, of
on our
course, it's-
foundations and traditions in the United States.
It's always the question of education about what, but as you said, God is watching. We want the kids to know God is watching. Otherwise, they're going to go out there and kill people, steal things, commit adultery, and stuff like that.
You know,
Right? Is that
you know
correct?
one of the things I love most about the Ten Commandments is it's not about me. It's about others. It's about service
Yeah,
to
well, you're
others
not
and honoring
really
others.
answering
And
my
you know what?
question there.
We could deal with that as a society
Thank
right
you.
now.
I just want to establish that our objective is to let the kids know that God is watching. Is that
My
is that-
objective is not that you are putting words in my
No,
mouth.
no,
My
no.
objective is to return to our foundational
Yeah.
heritage, which we have, which is what is established our nation and the principles of
As a
the
Christian
foundation.
nation, right?
Our
Isn't that
forefathers.
your view?
Our forefathers understood well, as I explained in the way they were taught, their education was foundational to them, and you know what we need to. It helps us to understand them and us better when we return to those foundations.
I'm curious to know why you're not willing to say straight out, this is an effort to make sure those kids know God is watching and that.
Because that was
religious-
never my objective. I'm sorry. You could put those words in my mouth, but
Well, I
that is
thought I
not
heard
what
you
I.
say
That
it.
is
If
not
you
my
didn't, I'm happy
objective.
for you to unsay it if you wish to do so.
No.
But you mentioned God in there a number of times, didn't you?
I did, and I happen to
Okay.
believe firmly in God and
Thank you.
His providence, as did our forefathers, those that mentioned Him by name in the Declaration of Independence 4 times.
So do I, but 26% of the people in Texas are not religious.
I would concur with that. But that doesn't mean that they would not be better by learning about our forefathers and what was important to them and what made them tick.
But if you go out there and look on that statue, there's not a word about, that monument that has the Ten Commandments on it. There's no word about our forefathers on that monument.
No,
It's just the Ten Commandments, right?
you're right.
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you. Now, I live in a big city, and our state's a great big state, so just living in a city doesn't really mean a whole lot. We have 31 million people. Everybody pays taxes, right? Right?
Yes,
And those taxes are what pay for our public school system. Is that correct?
for the most part, yes. We do have
Okay.
schools with foundations that have donations as
So
well.
how do I ask 26% of the population that's not religious to pay taxes, or people that are not Christians or Jews who revere the Ten Commandments to pay taxes, but when they go to the taxpayer-funded school building, they see on the wall words that are sacred to you and me, but are
And
not
we're sacred to our forefathers.
Let me finish. Sacred to you and me, but are not sacred to them. How do we explain that they pay taxes to put our religious views on the wall and not
So
theirs?
I think you misunderstand the bill because it is something that is donated to the school and not necessarily, and not paid for by the school unless the school decides to. I think you misunderstood that part of the bill. It
What
is
I
a donation.
understand is that you want to pass a law that's going to say that every school classroom has a religious document that's sacred to Christians and Jews, but is not sacred to other religions.
So do you-
And is not important to the 26% of the people in the state who are not religious, and put it on the wall of a school building that they paid for.
Again, you could make that same argument against putting the Declaration of Independence on the wall, since
No,
it mentions
no.
God 4 times.
How do you conclude that? The Declaration of Independence is a foundational document that we all share as Americans, everybody.
So,
Christian, Jew, Hindu, Buddhist.
so are you offended that the Supreme Court has the 10 Commandments on the wall in there? Is that offensive to you as a taxpayer?
I'm talking about classrooms. And I'm talking about Texas. I'm not talking about Supreme Court, because your bill only talks about Texas classrooms. So that's what I'm talking about.
I am very honored to carry this bill, and I think it's important that we return to the classroom the thing that was so important to our founding father. It was foundational to them and to our educational system. And I do have some expert witnesses that can explain this better than I can at 4 a.m. And I will be happy to circle back with you at another time and debate this at great length when we're not both so exhausted. But I really would love for you to hear from my friends that have waited all day.
Well, let me just ask you a couple more questions here. Are you going to ask the private schools that are not going to receive vouchers to put this on the wall of their classrooms?
I am not.
And will this be on the wall of charter schools?
Well, I can't speak for, I have not seen it on the walls in charter schools, but I would hope that should they have them donated, that they would be thrilled to do that as well.
I'm asking what your bill requires.
My
Is
bill
it
is for public schools.
not charter schools.
I don't believe, but I would be happy to take that amendment should you
Well,
want to
they-
do that.
They call themselves public schools. That's why I asked you that question. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.